In this video, we're going to share with you 50 things to do in Rome on your first visit. Let's get started.
Game begin.
The Victor Emmanuel Monument is considered the largest monument in Italy. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, there's over 7 million walkable square feet, adding up all of the terraces, the interior spaces, the stairs. I mean, that's just massive. Think about your home, 7 million plus square feet, that's over 700,000 meters. Also, that horse right in the center, when it was installed in 1909, they had a dinner party in the belly of the horse where the mayor of the city and 22 other people had dinner actually in the belly. Quite impressive. So when you're in Rome, be sure not to miss the Victor Emmanuel Monument. It's open daily from 9:30 in the morning till 7:30 p.m. It's free to go in and explore the monument. There are a couple of additions where you need to pay for. If you do want to go to the rooftop terrace, you need to pay 10 extra euros. And there's a museum inside. I think that's 8 or 10 euros. But yeah, otherwise it's free to go explore. So don't miss that opportunity. It's very, very impressive. Right around the corner from the Victor Emmanuel Monument are the forums. You've got Trajan's Forum on one side and the Roman Forum on the other. Both are included with most tickets to the Colosseum, but if you just want to visit the forums, you can purchase a standalone ticket for 18 euros. And in my opinion, if you had limited time, you could only visit either the interior of the Colosseum or the Roman forums. I recommend visiting the Roman forums. Far more to see and do there than there is inside the Colosseum. In my opinion, the Colosseum was great, but about 90% of it is just seeing it from the outside. Right next to the Colosseum is the Arch of Constantine. The Arch of Constantine is the largest triumphal arch in Rome. It was built to commemorate the victory at the Milvian Bridge where Constantine's army defeated Maxentius's army. Maxentius retreated on a pontoon bridge, fell into the river, and drowned with all his armor. Probably the biggest single site in Rome is located right next to the Arch of Constantine. That is the Colosseum. But what you probably didn't know is that more than estimated 400,000 people were killed in the Colosseum, and an approximate 1 million animals. It was a brutal place back in the day. Today, it's one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world.
For the best Roman experience, be sure to subscribe to Rozier Roma.
A short walk from the Colosseum is La Chiesa di San Pietro in Vincolo, where you're going to find Michelangelo's Moses. But what I bet you don't know is the statue of Moses has horns on his head because of a mistranslation. They mistranslated lights of Re for horns. There you go. That's why the statue has horns. Speaking of Michelangelo, there's one of the most beautiful basilicas about a 10-minute walk from the Moses called the Basilica of St. Mary of Angels and of Martyrs. This was formerly the Baths of Diocletian, and when Michelangelo was in his 80s, one of the last major works he did was help design the old ruins into what is today one of the most beautiful basilicas in Rome. Be sure not to miss it. It's really, really awesome. While visiting the Basilica, be sure not to miss the fountain out front. That's the Fountain of the Naiads. That fountain was unveiled in 1901 and shortly boarded up because the statues were nude. And it didn't take long for the Romans to revolt. Within days, they tore down the fence, and now it's one of Rome's most popular fountains. About a 10-minute walk from Piazza della Repubblica is the Basilica of St. Mary Major. But what I bet you didn't know, the gold on the ceiling, that's supposed to be some of the first gold brought back from America by Christopher Columbus. Also, there's a very unusual relic, said to be some of the original wood from Jesus' crib in Bethlehem. Our next stop is the Basilica of San Clemente. San Clemente Basilica is located not too far from the Colosseum, and that basilica itself is undergoing some major renovation in 2026. But what makes this basilica super interesting is what it sits on top of, or what it was built over. It was built over Roman housing from the 1st century, and then around the 4th or 5th century they built a temple on top of that. And then around the 12th century, they built the Basilica of San Clemente on top of that. So when you're in Rome, be sure to visit the Basilica of San Clemente. The basilica is free, but to go underneath, it does cost around 12 euros. And if you purchase those online, I believe you save 2. So it would be 10 euros. Or maybe it was 8. Anyway, you get the idea. Book it online, save 2 euros. It's either going to be 8 or 10. Just down the road from the Basilica of San Clemente is another church called the Basilica di Santi Giovanni e Paolo. Now this basilica was built in the 5th century. What's really cool here are these flying buttresses. They cross over one of Rome's oldest streets that is still in use today. And the basilica was built on top of some Roman housing that you can go down and visit. Similar to the ones we just visited, the Basilica di San Clemente. Not quite as impressive, but still super interesting. It's super quiet in this area, very relaxing. So if you're in the area of the Colosseum and you need a little break from the crowds, head over to the Celio neighborhood. You'll find the peace and serenity you're looking for. Now we're going to head over to Circus Maximus. This is where they used to hold the chariot races. Here's a story you probably don't know. There's a charioteer, one of the best charioteers of all time, the Michael Jordan of charioteering. His name was Gaius Appius Diocles. I may have butchered his name a little bit. Anyway, this guy won over 1,400 races in 24 years, earning him a staggering 35,873,120 sesterces. What's a sesterce? Well, an average Roman at that time made about 1 to 2 sesterces a day. And some people estimate this total winnings in today's dollars to be in the billions. Now let's head over to the Basilica of St. Paul outside the wall. This basilica is built over the tomb of St. Paul, and in 2006 they confirmed his sarcophagus by dating some of the bones found back to the 1st or 2nd century. Not sure it confirmed it was Peter, but the bones were old. Also worth noting, along the ceiling there are 266 medallions of all the popes from Peter onward, and legend has it when they run out of space, that's the end of the world. From what I saw, they have about room for 2 more popes. Now let's head over to the Catacombs of San Calistro. The grounds above the catacombs are just beautiful. In fact, I'm riding my bike right over top of many of those that were buried in the catacombs. There are an estimated 500,000 Christians buried there, and over 12 miles of tunnels stacked over 3 or 4 levels. If you get the chance to visit, they'll take you down. You get to see a small section of it. Quite interesting. The Catacombs of San Calistro offer guided tours only, but it's only 10 euros for an adult, and it's open every day except for Wednesdays from 9 till noon and from 2 to 5 p.m., and the tour takes just under 1 hour. Just about 10 minutes by foot from the San Calistro Catacombs is Via Appia Antica, and when you start Via Appia Antica, right as soon as you start, you're going to see Circus of Maxentius. Now, everybody's heard of Circus of Maximus. That's the main circus where they did all the chariot races. But Circus of Maxentius is actually far better preserved. It's where they did the inaugural chariot race. They really only did 1 chariot race there. It was done after the emperor's son, Romulus, died. He's a young boy who died. He held a chariot race in his honor. And yeah, that's still out there, so definitely head out there, check out the circus, then take a walk down Via Appia Antica. It's awesome. Just north of the San Calistro Catacombs is a small church called Domine Quo Vadis. Now this is a very unusual church. Domine Quo Vadis means, Lord, where are you going? This was a conversation Peter had with Jesus. Peter asked Jesus, Lord, where are you going? And he said he was going back to Rome to be crucified, and that's when Peter realized he needed to turn back himself and face his martyrdom. This church marks the literal spot where this conversation took place, and inside the church there's a very unusual relic said to be the footprints of Jesus. Now we're headed to one of my favorite sites, the Baths of Caracalla. Why are these my favorite? Well, I guess because when I went there, I wasn't expecting that much. And when I got there, I mean, these things were so massive, so inspiring, so incredible. I just couldn't believe how big these were. I'd seen a lot of ruins throughout Rome, you know, even in Pompeii. And these things were just enormous. It just gave scale to the place, thinking how could they build something this big? Even today, that would be hard to duplicate. And something interesting, they used to, you know, hold over 8,000 bathers all at once. And thinking of the Baths of Diocletian that Michelangelo turned into a church, I was thinking the whole time, wouldn't it be cool if they would turn this into something like a big shopping mall or, you know, maybe another church, but there's already 900 plus churches in Rome, so I don't know if they need another church, but if they could build that and turn that into something, you know, that they could also be used today and kind of preserve the ruins that there are there, that would be really cool. Another thing worth noting, in the early 1900s, they discovered a whole set of tunnels down below it. Over 2 kilometers of tunnels where slaves used to keep that water running and the water heated and all that stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So when you're in Rome, don't miss the Baths of Caracalla. A bit of a walk from the Baths of Caracalla is the Pyramid of Rome. Did you know Rome had a pyramid? Most people don't. This is nothing like those you're going to find in Egypt. However, it was built in 5 BC, so it's been there a long time. When I first saw the pyramid, I just thought it was a recent addition. I didn't realize it had, you know, dated back that far. So yeah, check out the pyramid. It's located right off the metro, super easy to get to. And when you're there, you can check out the non-Catholic cemetery, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Just behind the pyramid, there is actually a cemetery called the non-Catholic cemetery. If you're familiar with cemeteries throughout Italy, they're always very interesting. Some of them are huge. This one is not very big, but it is special and is probably one of the better maintained cemeteries in Rome. There are some famous poets buried there, Keats and Shelley. And yeah, it's a super interesting cemetery, so definitely swing on in, take a look, and yeah. It's not for everybody, it's a cemetery, but if you're into cemeteries at all, this one is quite fascinating. Now we're going to make our way over to Park of the Oranges. It's located not far from Circus Maximus along the Tiber River. What's interesting about this park is you can see a great view of St. Peter's Dome. And also right around the corner from the park is the keyhole, the famous keyhole. And you get to look at St. Peter's Dome through a literal keyhole. Pretty interesting. I will give you this bit of advice. If there's more than 10 people in line, I wouldn't wait in line. Each person takes about a minute or so. And sometimes there's 30, 40, 50 people, 100 people in line. It's just not worth it. But if there's not a big line, take a look through the keyhole. It is fairly interesting. From the Park of the Oranges, it's a beautiful walk over to the neighborhood of Trastevere. Right in the heart of the neighborhood of Trastevere is a really beautiful piazza and church. The church is called La Basilica di Santa Maria in Trastevere. And right there in the center of the square there is what they consider Rome's oldest fountain. I recommend getting a pizza, some gelato, whatever you're in the mood for. Get that, head back out to the piazza, and just sit down on the steps of the fountain and enjoy the atmosphere. A visit to Rome wouldn't be complete without a stop by Tiber Island. Yes, that's the island right in the middle of the Tiber River. And there's a bridge, a special bridge called the Ponte Fabricio. That's Rome's oldest surviving bridge. Walk across the bridge like many did more than 2,000 years ago. On the bridge, you'll often find some of the best street performers in Rome.
All citizens should subscribe to Rozier Roma.
Now we're heading to one of my favorite squares of Rome called Largo Argentina. Right there in the center of Rome. Not only is it an awesome square, it's got the best pizza in all of Rome at Pizza Florida. But that's not all. There's also a cat sanctuary. If you love cats, you're going to love Torre Argentina. And it's also the place where Caesar was assassinated in, I think it was 44 BC. Yeah, lots of history there in this square. Super fun place to just kind of hang out and relax. From Largo Argentina, it's less than 100 meters to one of my favorite fountains, the Fountain of the Turtles. Just a 2 or 3 minute walk from the Fountain of the Turtles is the Jewish Quarter. In the Jewish Quarter, you're going to find a main drag there with lots of great restaurants. Now, I wouldn't say they're my favorite restaurants. I've had some decent food there. For some reason, maybe it's just what I ordered. I haven't had a great meal in the Jewish Quarter other than some bakeries and some other fast food. But as far as restaurants go, I think there's better places in the city to eat. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Maybe you've had a great meal there. The Jewish Quarter is where they invented the fried artichoke. This is where it originated. So if you're in Rome in the season of artichokes, which is like from the beginning of the year till like around April or so, be sure to get a fried artichoke. They're awesome. And while you're in the Jewish Quarter, there's some really interesting ruins on one end. You're going to see Theater Marcello, some ruins along the way there. There's a temple. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen. And yeah, one of my favorite little sections of ruins that we're going to walk through before heading to Capitol Hill. To start off the second half of this video, we're going to head to one of my favorite squares. It's a square that was designed by Michelangelo called the Campidoglio. Located at the Campidoglio is the Capitol Museum. Now, the Capitol Museum is quite incredible. Lots of art and artifacts can be found there. But one of my favorite things is actually the views of the Roman Forum. Seeing them from the Capitol Museum in that ancient structure is quite incredible. Also, there's a cafe, a little restaurant. Don't miss that because there's a huge terrace where you can get great views of Rome. The food's pretty good, and the nice thing is, even if you don't have tickets or you aren't visiting the Capitol Hill Museum, you can just walk around the side entrance and enter into the restaurant and take advantage of the views from the terrace for free. It's quite incredible, and it's kind of nice to do. It's located right there, also right close to the Colossal Constantine that we're going to talk about in just a minute. At one time, there was a huge statue of Constantine. Now, this statue's in ruins and fragments of it are in the Capitol Museum. As of about 2023, I think it was, they recreated the statue and it's located right behind the museum in a small little square. Be sure not to miss it. Also at Capitol Hill, there's one of the best lookouts of the Forum. Be sure not to miss it. It's located right behind Capitol Hill Museum. There's a little perch there where you can get awesome views of the Roman Forum. Also at Capitol Hill is one of my favorite little churches called La Basilica di Santa Maria in Arcoeli. It is absolutely stunning. So while you're there, be sure to walk up that flight of stairs, head into the church, check it out. It's quite impressive. A short walk from the Campidoglio is Trajan's Market. Now, Trajan's Market is like the world's oldest indoor shopping mall. It gives you a good look into the Roman life back then. You go in there and get a smoothie, maybe a piece of pizza, and conduct business, meet your friends. It's kind of a cool building. Today you can walk around it, check it out. It's 3 or 4 stories. Some of the best views of the Roman Forum are from there. It's a great stop, it really is, and it's rarely crowded, so that makes it extra nice, and maybe that's because of its location. It's just kind of off the beaten path, but make the trip over there. It's only a 2 or 3 minute walk from the maybe a 5 minute walk from the Campidoglio. So yeah, walk on over there, check it out. It's well worth your time. We really appreciate all the comments on our videos, and one comment we received just recently from Hammer Wrench says this: just wanted to say thank you. My wife and I just got back from a week in Florence and a week in Rome. Without your videos and the guide, it wouldn't have been possible to have what we considered the best vacation of our lives. Now that's why we do these videos. That's why we have the guide. Be sure to check out the guide. By purchasing that guide, it does help support our channel, and in return, we'll help you have a great time while you're in Rome. Check it out. A link's in the description, and a discount code where you can pick it all up for right around $25. Now we're going to head over to Trevi Fountain. Trevi Fountain's not a very far walk from the Trajan's Market, and Trevi Fountain is probably one of Rome's most popular sites. In fact, it may not be the most popular, but it's certainly the most crowded. Thousands of people gather there all day long to check out the fountain. And, a visit to Rome wouldn't be complete without a stop by Trevi Fountain. I recommend visiting it any time of day, but it's best to go when it's not so crowded, maybe after 10 p.m. before like 7 a.m. and you'll probably have a better experience. But regardless, don't miss the opportunity to visit Trevi Fountain. A short walk from Trevi Fountain is the Column of Marcus Aurelius. I fell in love with Marcus Aurelius when I watched the movie The Gladiator. If you haven't seen The Gladiator, I recommend it. It's a great movie. It probably portrayed Marcus Aurelius maybe better than he was in real life, but he was known to be a fair guy, and his son Commodus, well, he may not have been a great father. Maybe he just had a bad son, I'm not sure. But anyway, be sure to check out the Column of Marcus Aurelius when you're in Rome. A visit to Rome without a stop at the Spanish Steps would not be complete, and they're so easy to get to. There's a metro station on the A line directly underneath the Spanish Steps. The Spanish Steps are beautiful, probably the most famous staircase in the world, and the area all around the Spanish Steps is kind of a high-end area, lots of high-end shopping, nice restaurants, just a great time to go out and explore the area. Don't miss the Spanish Steps when you're in Rome. A short walk from the Spanish Steps is my favorite park in Rome, called Villa Borghese. Now, when people think of the Villa Borghese, many people think of the museum, but in addition to that, this is one of Rome's largest parks. It's right in the center of Rome, and there's so much to see and do within the park. One of my favorite things is to simply rent an electric buggy and go tour the park, and you can usually get those for right around 20 euros. Another fun thing to do is to take a boat ride. Also, don't miss Piazza del Pincio, where you can check out the street performers. Whenever you need an escape from all the crowds in Rome, head to Villa Borghese and just kind of get that reset. What I love most about the park is just getting away from all the crowds in Rome. Sometimes you just need to get away, get back into nature, walk along the paths of the park, check out the trees, the fountains. There's just so much history, so much to see and do in the park. It's just a great escape right there in the center of Rome. Just below Villa Borghese, there's a square, a beautiful square called Piazza del Popolo. Piazza del Popolo has a dark history. For centuries, it was used as a place for public executions. The last executions took place in 1826, so nobody's been, executed there recently, thankfully. That obelisk in the center is over 3,000 years old. It's an old Egyptian obelisk that was brought to Rome by Constantine. Also worth noting, the streets that surround Piazza del Popolo, there's lots of nice restaurants, boutique shops, a great place to go shopping if you're into that type of thing. A short walk from Piazza del Popolo is the Mausoleum of Augustus. This site has been closed more than it's been open over the past decade, but good news. At the end of 2026, they'll be opening the Mausoleum of Augustus to the public. This time, hopefully for the final time. They've done a major renovation, including a square right there, so it should be awesome. Be sure to check it out if you're in Rome towards the end of 2026, especially into 2027 and beyond. Now it's time to head over to Piazza Navona. In my opinion, Piazza Navona is the most beautiful square in Rome. Piazza Navona, there's always something going on. It's a great place to visit anytime, but it's especially nice in the evenings. Piazza Navona is where they hold Rome's largest Christmas market every December. The Rome Marathon runs through Piazza Navona. La Bufana visits Piazza Navona. It seems there's always something going on at Piazza Navona. The next site doesn't need an introduction. It's simply the coolest building ever built in Rome that's still standing after 2,000 years. It's the Pantheon. If you happen to be in Rome on a Sunday, be sure to attend Mass inside the Pantheon. It's really, really special. Our next stop is a basilica located right next to the Pantheon. Rome has over 900 churches, and let's be honest, most of them are fairly forgettable once you're in them, but this one stands out. It is one of my favorite basilicas. It is the Basilica di Santa Maria sopra Minerva. Here is where you'll find Michelangelo's Cristo Risto. Another thing I really liked about this church is right behind the altar there's a prayer box. You can write down your prayers, your poems, your thoughts, and stick it into the box. It's a great way for us to feel a little closer to our Creator. Our next stop is also located very close to the Pantheon, and it is another church. This one is called La Chiesa di Sant'Ignazio di Loyola. I mentioned before there are more than 900 churches, and there are probably 10 or 20 that really stand out, and this is certainly one of them. The painted ceilings on this church attract thousands and thousands of people to the church every day. And there's a magic mirror. Well, it's not magic, it's coin operated. You put a coin in, the mirror activates, and the ceiling above lights up so you can check out the paintings without breaking your neck. Now it's time to head over to Campo dei Fiori. Campo dei Fiori has a rich history. It's an open market, a fruit market, vegetable market, a knick-knack market that's been going on for more than 150 years. It runs every day of the year with the exception of Christmas and New Year's. Otherwise, the market is there from early in the morning until late in the afternoon. Most Romans would probably consider this market to be more of a touristy market, selling and catering to the tourists, but it does have a lot of history, certainly worth going by to check out. Lots of great food in the area, restaurants, boutique shops and whatnot. Also worth noting, Campo dei Fiori used to be a place of many public executions similar to Piazza del Popolo. Just above Trastevere, there's one of Rome's largest fountains called La Fontana dell'Acqua Palla. Now this fountain is one of my favorite for sure. I just love it. I love it because it's elevated above the city, it's rarely crowded, the fountain is huge, there's tons of atmosphere there, and it's just kind of a nice walk to go up there, get away from the city a little bit, kind of recharge your battery. So when you're in Rome, definitely head up to La Fontana dell'Acqua Palla, and while you're at it, our next stop, don't miss it, it's coming up next. It is Piazza Gianicolo. Just about 200 meters from the Fontana dell'Acqua Palla is the Piazza Gianicolo. Piazza Gianicolo is a little bit elevated over the city, a great place to catch a sunset, catch a sunrise, and don't forget, every day at noon, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people gather for the firing of the cannon. This is a tradition that started hundreds of years ago in an effort to synchronize all the bells and clocks in the city of Rome. Now we're headed to what I think is the #1 site in all of Rome. It is St. Peter's Basilica. If you had limited time in Rome and you could only pick one site to see, I would suggest you visit St. Peter's Basilica. Until you see it, it's hard to describe how large this basilica is, and many people don't know the dome on St. Peter's Basilica, that was designed by Michelangelo. Now we're headed over to the Vatican Museum. Now here's what I would say about the Vatican Museum. If it's a bucket list item for you, by all means, visit the Vatican Museum, make it a high priority. But if it's not a bucket list and you're just going there because everybody tells you that's what you need to see, skip it. There are so many fun things to do in Rome. And while the Vatican Museum is pretty incredible, it can also be super crowded, a time killer, and just not for everybody. Keep that in mind when planning your trip to the Vatican Museum. About a 10-minute walk from the Vatican Museum is Castel Sant'Angelo. Castel Sant'Angelo is located out in front of Vatican City near Piazza Pia along the Tiber River. Of all the castles I've seen in Italy, Castel Sant'Angelo, in my opinion, is one of the uglier castles from the exterior. But don't let that fool you. Inside, the castle is awesome. Lots to see and explore in the castle, and you get some of the best views of Rome, of St. Peter's Basilica, just awesome views. So be sure to check it out. And if you're hungry, they even have an overpriced cafe. A short walk from Castel Sant'Angelo, there is a statue called the Veiled Christ. You may be familiar with the Veiled Christ that's in Naples. It's a beautiful statue. If you're in Rome and you want to see a new version, not a replica of the original, a new version of the Veiled Christ, it was recently completed in 2022. Yes, just a few years ago. The artist used no power tools. It took him 6 years to complete. And go support the artist, and trust me, you're gonna find this statue absolutely breathtaking. It's beautiful. And for some reason, sometimes we don't appreciate artwork unless it's really old. The next stop is gonna be Aqueduct Park. I suggest you take the metro. Walking would be quite a long walk, but hopping on the metro, the A line, is just a short ride, maybe 15 minutes. Hop off at Suba Augusta and walk over to Aqueduct Park. Kim and I love Aqueduct Park. In fact, we go out to Aqueduct Park almost every week and take a walk along the giant aqueducts. It's hard to explain just how magnificent they are until you've actually been there. You just won't understand. Now we're going to head over to La Basilica di San Giovanni in Lateran. In the Catholic Church, there are 4 major basilicas, and all 4 are located in Rome. La Basilica di San Giovanni in Lateran is one of them. In 2025, they redid the entire square out in front of the church, adding a splash pad and just creating a lot more atmosphere. On the other side of the church, there is the oldest obelisk in Rome, over 3,400 years old, imported from Egypt many years ago. Right next to the Basilica di San Giovanni in Lateran are probably the most unique stairs in all of Rome. These are the stairs that are said to be the same stairs Jesus walked up when meeting Pontius Pilate. These stairs were brought to Rome, and today you can visit them for free. And if you want to walk up the stairs, you have to do it on your knees. It sounds easy, but it's actually pretty painful. Be sure to bring your knee pads.
Game over.
I sure appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you missed part 1, that's coming up right now.